Our main topic today is we're going to learn about organizing and storing digital documents by myself, Tom Kreuzer. We'll cover a bunch of tips and things like that. First, a little bio. I'm known as the PC guy because I have a personalized license plate that says PC guy. I'm the son of John Kreuzer here at Carondelet. He's in back there with my sister and brother-in-law. I retired a few years ago from after working 40 years at 3M in the information technology or IT area. I currently am an officer and presenter for the 3M Personal Computing Club, so I've been involved with them almost going on 45 years now. And at one time we had a peak of over 1,200 members in the club. I do offer free computer help. I know you've got a couple of people who volunteer here that you can sign up for, but I also put on this handout, does everybody have a handout? On this handout I put my email, and I do have some cards if you want a card, if you do have a question or think of anything there. I mentioned that I'm thrifty, I'm not cheap. If there's a free or an inexpensive way to do something, I'm all for that. So some people will look to buy the most expensive or different things like that, but it's a case of there's a lot of free or low cost options nowadays. I mentioned the topic next month. The topic next month will be on artificial intelligence. We'll talk about why is it important, and friend or foe, because if you watch the news, you've seen lots of stuff on the news about artificial intelligence or AI there. Yeah, I had been doing them at 2 o'clock. Today I had something booked that I couldn't be here at 2, so I scheduled it at 3. So we'll be back to 2, but if 3 o'clock works better for people, in the future we can go to 3 o'clock or that. I also, excuse me, is there a question? Oh, okay. Also, along with my sister and back there and my brother-in-law, we put on the Fix-It Clinic here at Carondelet, and the next Fix-It Clinic is also coming up in May. We do it about every 2 months, and that's coming up on Monday, May 22nd, 1 to 3. And if you haven't been to it before, you can bring small appliances, lamps, electronics, mobile devices, jewelry, small furniture, fans, just about anything you got. If it's broke or not working, or maybe you need someone to help. Somebody was just here asking about setting up. She got a Fitbit, and so she's going to bring that to the next one. And that we do have sign-ups for that, and currently the sign-up sheet is not down at the front counter, but within a week or so I should have it down there, and you can sign up for slots. There's like 15 or 20 slots there. Also on this handout, it references on the back if you've missed any of the presentations or want to revisit any of the presentations out on the website, the Carondelet website. I do have an entry out there for technical help, and that has the calendar of these fix-its, the presentations, and one-on-one help listed there. And it also has the resources. Under resources, there's the past meetings and recordings. So if you want to get another handout or missed a presentation, you can watch the recording or get the handout. Okay, let's get to our main topic today, which is organizing and storing digital documents. Living life means an endless stream of documents. We get them from banking, taxes, legal, medical, receipts, and much, much more. Some of them are in paper, some of them are digital, all different ways. We need them securely stored so that we can find what we're looking for very easily and without stress. Because if you can't find what you're looking for, it stresses out everybody. You know you had it somewhere, or you got it months ago, and where did it go, or what happened to it, or is it in this box, or is it in this folder on a laptop that you used to have, or a tablet that you might have had, or something like that. Digital storage of these things can make life a lot easier. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen automatically. You need to have a plan when you create these documents and where to store them and how to organize them there. And so you do have to put in a little effort to make it work. It just doesn't happen automatically. Now I mentioned here one of the things that I do tend to see with quite a few people is document hoarders. Everything that they've accumulated or every document that they've ever written or created, they keep copies of. And that can make it a lot harder to find things. But that's a decision that everybody has to make. But it can make it hard to find anything when you need it, and it ends up wasting tons of your time searching for these different documents. So hopefully after this presentation, you'll come back with some tips and some strategies and a plan to organize what you have there. So taking time now to organize will pay back 100-fold down the road, saving you time and searching for stuff and keeping track of what you really have. Okay, the first thing we'll talk about is where should we store these digital documents? And I recommend that the system of record for all your digital documents be the cloud. And so the cloud is the internet, and we'll talk here a little bit. You can certainly have backups, and you should have backups of these documents, potentially also on your laptop or desktop or on an external drive. So you always do want to have backups, but the system of record can be the cloud. The advantages of the cloud over having it just on a laptop or a desktop is the cloud allows access at any time from anywhere on any device. And so most of us now have multiple devices, phones, tablets, laptops, desktops, or you're getting a new machine and things like that. And every time you get it, people end up having to spend time transferring files and keeping track of things. And so organizing can help you with keeping all this straight. Another advantage of the cloud storage is cloud storage provides versioning and backup automatically. So that's a very nice feature in most of these cloud storage if you're used to, well, we'll talk about some of the major cloud storage options. Yes?
What is versioning?
I'll show you a little bit with versioning, but let's say you created a Word document and today, and then tomorrow you went in and edited it and added some stuff, and then a week from now you made a few other changes, and a month from now you made another change. Versioning lets you see when you made those changes and revert back to one of those changes if you wanted to. And it can be especially handy. Most people are creating documents themselves, but if you're working with multiple people or sharing stuff, you may have multiple people making changes to a document also. No, it's automatically done by the cloud storage. Yeah, it's automatically handled by the cloud storage, which is a big advantage over if you just had it stored, let's say, on your laptop. You'd only have one file, one version, unless in Microsoft Word you can turn on versioning and then it will do versioning inside of it. So there are some ways within some applications to do versioning, but in general, the cloud can handle that for you.
So
Yeah.
they each have a date on it, DATE, or a version?
It has a date on it.
Okay.
Because it doesn't know, that you consider this to be version 1 or 2. It'll just show you these are the last times it was changed and who changed them. And
you don't need to label your documents draft 1, 2, 3.
right, yeah. So it can make things a lot simpler there and that. And it used to be in the, or 1 second and then I'll take your question. It used to be in the past, we weren't using the cloud because frequently you didn't have connections to the internet or it wasn't a fast connection to the internet. Now, at Carondelet here and almost everywhere where you go, you have a connection to the internet and it's a fast connection, which means that really it's hard to tell whether the file was stored, let's say, on your laptop or up in the cloud. It's fast either way to open it up, to make your change, and to save it. You don't even have to really know that everything's being done up on the cloud for you there. Okay?
How do you get things to go to the cloud?
Excuse me?
How do you get documents to go into the cloud?
How do you get them?
How do you get them to go into the cloud?
Oh, how do you get them to go into the cloud? There's a couple of different ways to do that. If you've got existing files on a laptop or someplace else, you can copy them. If you're familiar with copying files from a flash drive or an external drive, the cloud looks and operates exactly like a drive that you might have on your computer. That if you're creating new files, if you're using browsers or applications that are saving the files up to the cloud. So if I'm creating a new document, I start a brand new document, I automatically save it to the cloud.
How do you save it to the cloud?
I'll show that. If I don't show it a little bit later, I'll show it at the end if that's okay. Okay?
Where does the word cloud come from? I'm hearing this word cloud. I mean, what was the same day? Can't you store your documents?
That's a very interesting question. So I'll repeat it for if people are listening to it. Where did the word cloud come from? Because I started it almost 50 years ago, and at that time there was no such thing as the cloud. Even though Al Gore claims to have created the internet years ago, the speed of the networks and the computers and that, it took years and years and years and things like that. But the word cloud itself came from the people that were drawing diagrams. So you'd have to do a diagram. This is a user, and they go in and they edit a file, and that file is saved somewhere. Well, you didn't just want to put a box that said, it's saved in this box. So somebody said, let's differentiate it from something that is on a laptop or a desktop by just drawing a cloud around it to make it look like a cloud. This way, nobody will confuse it with it being stored on a laptop or a desktop or that. And so that's where the word cloud and the picture of the cloud comes from. The actual implementation is it's on a server on the internet. So you do need access to the internet, and it's a server that's on the internet. Okay? Okay. So like I say, this last bullet here, the fast internet. So 10 years ago, the internet wasn't fast enough or would be a lot slower to save a file, to open a file, and things like that. Now we all have fast phones, fast internet connections, fast everything. So it makes it easy to save it to the cloud there. Yes?
Is that because of 5G?
Part of it can be 5G. 5G is specific to cell phones and the way that they can communicate, and 5G can make that much faster. But actually, for documents, most documents, whether you were using 4G, the older version, or 5G, you really wouldn't notice much of a difference. 5G comes into play when you're watching video. Video is a lot bigger files and a lot more pixels to send and data to send. So that's the simpler answer. Okay, so cloud services. Let's talk about the 3 most popular cloud services. So if you're not familiar with cloud services, you've probably heard of this before. The 3 most popular is Microsoft OneDrive, and if you have a Microsoft account, you get 5 gigabytes of free storage. You can put as many files as you can store in 5 gigabytes. A lot of people have subscribed to Microsoft 365 Office. That's Word, Excel, PowerPoint. If you subscribe to that, you get access to 1 terabyte of free, or it's actually not free, you're paying for it in your Microsoft 365, but you have a terabyte of storage to store your documents out there. And Microsoft 365, if you're not familiar, you can buy a license for it for $69 a year to get this storage. Another place, if you have Apple devices and have used Apple, you may be more familiar with the Apple iCloud. Apple users get 5 gigabytes of free space. Then you can buy additional space for 99 cents a month for an additional 50 gigabytes of space. And you can keep adding space depending on how many files you have and what you store. If we're talking about word processing documents, you could have probably 1 million word processing documents out there in the free 5 gigabytes of space, because each character is 1 character. Well, 5 gigabytes is go to millions, and then it's 1,000 millions there, and you have 5 of those. But 5 gigabytes, if you're also storing photographs out there and videos out there and other things, those can take a lot more space, obviously, than a Word document. Okay, the 3rd most popular is Google Drive. Well, and again, these aren't really ranked in order. Probably the most popular out there today is Google Drive, is probably the most popular. Then Microsoft Drive would be 2nd, and Apple iCloud would be 3rd. Google gives you 15 gigabytes of free space, and then if you want more space, you can pay a monthly fee of like $1.99 to get an additional 100 gigabytes of space. If you've worked at a company before, you may have heard of Dropbox. Dropbox was one of the original cloud services, and that's still around. It offers 10 gigabytes of free space and $10 a month for 2 terabytes of space. But again, most people are using one of those Microsoft, Apple, or Google as their cloud storage there.
Well, can you make some? More than 1?
You can have more than 1, and if you use multiple tools and that, you may end up with more than 1. However, be aware that multiple clouds means that if you want to search for something a year from now that you created, did you create it in the Apple iCloud, or did you create it in Microsoft, or did you create it in Google? So you want some type of strategy on where is the system of record going to be for these particular documents or things like that. But certainly you can use a mix there. Okay. And then I mentioned almost as a secondary there, if you have photographs or videos, those can be handled separately than your documents, digital documents that we're going to be talking about, because there are sites that are very good at handling your photos and stuff like that. So if you have an Amazon Prime membership, you can store an unlimited number of photos up on Amazon Prime. So that's a good place to be your system of record for photographs. Also an option is Google Photos, Adobe, if you're familiar with packages like Photoshop and Lightroom. If you buy those packages, you get storage up on the Adobe website to store your photos in that. And for videos, I recommend the use of YouTube. YouTube is free, and so you can put an unlimited number of videos up on YouTube and organize them the way that you want, all up there for free. So lots of options. Yes?
My photos are in OneDrive. Is it okay to keep them in OneDrive?
Yeah, you can keep them wherever you want. There's advantages and disadvantages to each of the different packages. And also it gets down to a matter of if you do have, let's say, an Amazon Prime account and you are paying money for OneDrive, maybe you could stop what you're paying at OneDrive and store your photos just up on Amazon Prime. Do you have a Microsoft Office account? Yeah, see, then you're getting a free chunk of space. So, then it makes sense there. But what you run into is Microsoft has a nice package for organizing your photos and putting them into albums and things like that. But there are other packages out there where you can store things. Some people use packages like Shutterfly, if you've heard of that. There are websites where you can do printing and do albums and things like that. So some people use sites like that. And I'm not forcing somebody to do anything because everybody has a little different needs than somebody else. Just be aware of what your options are, and you can find an option that's going to work best for you. Okay? Okay, here are some tips on where to store. If the software you use to edit or view a document does not directly allow you to access the cloud files, you can use what's called sync services to move files back and forth between your device and the cloud. So some packages, if you load it on a laptop, let's say, may want to edit files on the laptop. If it doesn't give you the option to go out to one of these cloud services and open up a file or save a file out to one of these cloud services, you're going to have to create your file on your laptop and then use one of these sync services to move it up or keep it in sync up on the cloud there. And so that's what this is talking about. And usually these sync services are turned on automatically for you if you're using the services. So Apple has specific directories that are automatically synced and copied up to their servers. The same with Microsoft and the same with Google. You can have these directories or areas on your laptop or desktop, and they're automatically being updated there. Okay. The most secure way of storing your most important non-digital documents or digital backups. So we talked about, or we'll be talking about how to digitize some of this stuff that you may have in paper form or stuff like that. And you want to store this stuff securely, these backups that you have. And what I'm recommending there or talk about here is if you're at home or in an apartment, you may choose to have a little safe. The safe that's fireproof, flood resistant, and rodent proof so that nothing happens there. And you can get safes starting at even $20, simple safes there. And this is a tip I mentioned here. Just because you've got it up at the cloud, and the cloud is being backed up, and there are version control and things like that, but you should also do your own backups just to give you a little more safety and security of if something catastrophic happened or you lost your account and couldn't get into your Microsoft account or things like that. You do want to have a backup. And I talked before about backup here in a previous presentation, and there's a rule. It's called the 3-2-1 rule for backup. And that 3-2-1 rule says always have at least 3 backups. 2 of those backups should be on different devices, and 1 of them should be in a different location. So ideally, backing up to give you the most security, the most protection there, you follow this 3-2-1 rule. And you can take a look at some of the previous presentations for that. And once you make a system like Microsoft or Apple or Google, your system of record, you'll find that there's easy ways to back up those files to, let's say, an external drive on your laptop or a flash drive. If you don't have that many files, you can even back it up to a flash drive, and there's easy ways to do that. This I also mentioned. I've talked about some of the documents and that are created and you want to keep and stuff like that for wills and power of attorneys and things like that. Well, I've recommended in the past a site called Cake, and Cake is this end-of-life planning website that lets you store the documents up there, lets you define your executor, lets you set up all this stuff such that it'll handle notifications and letting people know where different documents are and things like that, all automatically for you and all for free. It's a free system, and if you want more information on that, look at one of the past meetings and you can find some information on that.
A question on that. How secure, because you hear all the stories about interference on the internet, how secure is it to, let's say, a health director, you want to put that out there. How secure is that?
Yeah, the question, I'll repeat it for people listening, how secure are some of these sites for storing files, whether it's your power of attorneys or even your Word document? The way that these systems work, and I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but basically when it's stored up on Microsoft or it's stored on Apple or it's stored on Google, those files, every file there is encrypted. That encryption is specific to your account. So what that means is if somebody at Microsoft, let's say, has administrator privileges and supposedly can see everything, the only thing they see in your account is ones and zeros. They have no idea what files you have. They can't open them up. They can't look at them. They can't do anything with it. So everything's encrypted. So if a hacker or somebody gains access to this stuff, there's no information that they can really use there. The only place where you can be vulnerable there is if somebody had, let's say you store it out on Apple, if somebody has your Apple account and your password. Because obviously if they have your account and password, then they can get into your account, that would unencrypt the files and they'd be able to see it. But actually in the long run, if you compare it to having physical documents and trying to store them in a file cabinet or doing things like that, that ends up being less secure than what you really have in these systems nowadays. Years ago, files weren't encrypted up on servers and things like that. And that was because to encrypt it, requires a faster internet connection, a faster computer to code it and decode it every time you open or save it. And now computers have gotten faster, our connections are faster, so everything is a lot more secure than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago or things like that. Okay? Okay, next we'll talk about setting up a file system. So you want to set up a file system, whether it's up on the cloud or if you choose not to put it in the cloud and you're just going to have it on your laptop. I'm not recommending that, but if you do, you want to set up a filing system, just like a file cabinet. Within a file cabinet, you don't just throw everything into a drawer, or at least I hope you don't. You want to organize it, and the way that you organize it is you create folders or directories for organizing and putting the different documents in. And that would be very similar to what you probably did in a file cabinet, and that's the way that you organize. A lot of people started out using computers and they really didn't worry about where they saved their files, and so they'd either save them on the desktop or they'd save them in a documents directory and no subdirectories below it. They just dump the files in there. Well, that doesn't work when we have hundreds or thousands of files and now we have multiple devices and all these different directories out there. So you do have to have a little strategy there. And you want to have meaningful names for high-level folders that should be clear and easy to understand. Use the same names to organize your browser bookmarks. So when you're going to create names for these folders to save things, well, we all have a bunch of browser bookmarks. You should use the same names and the same strategy to organize your browser bookmarks. And if you've got emails, you probably have folders within there. You should have the same names there. And if you use a package like OneNote or a package that lets you put down notes, you should use the same names there. So getting this consistency can make it easier to find your various emails, your various documents, and know what's out there. So these are some suggestions for possible folder names that you can create. And this first one is actually an underscore, so that's a strange looking character there. It's an underscore to do. And I'll talk a little bit later why you might want to put this underscore in here. But these are documents that you're currently working on. You're not ready to file it anywhere, or you don't know where it will go or that, you can put it in your to-do. Another one is auto. And if you have multiple cars, you may have subdirectories below auto. This would contain maintenance records, insurance, titles, and registration for various automobiles or cars that you have. Home, now you've got apartment, but it's the same type of thing. You can store the maintenance things, insurance, home inventory, trees and plants that you have, permits, plans, anything like that in a home directory. Finance, that can contain your credit cards, your banks, your loans, your investments, your 401k, IRAs, Roth. Manual, this is for manuals. If you've attended some of my previous presentations, I always talk about whenever you get a new device, go out and download the manual, because most of the devices, you buy a phone, they don't give you a manual anymore telling you all the features and functions, but you can go out to the website and you can download the manual. Well, it's always handy to have the manual if you ever have a question or want to look anything up. So putting all these manuals together makes it easy in the future if you are looking, let's say you got an alarm clock and you don't know how to set it. Well, go out to the manuals, look for the alarm clock, and now you can look up how to set it there. Also, you may put, in addition to PDFs of the manuals and that, you may have photos of the different, when I buy a TV or I buy a laptop or that, I'll frequently take a photo of the outside of the box. It has model numbers and serial numbers on there. It also may have some features in that, and I'll store that out there. So a year from now or 2 years from now, someone asks me a question about the features or something like that, I can pull that up and see immediately what it has. Okay, some more folders or that medical, and that could be by each member of the family. That would be your doctor's bills, your prescriptions, your dentist, your insurance. You have healthcare reimbursement plans or savings plans. You'd have all that information. Promotion. This is where coupons or deals. Sometimes you get it in a paper form. Other times you get it in an email, or you get it in another form. There, you can take them and put them in here. Public. This is kind of what it sounds like. It's a directory that is open to anybody in the world. So this is documents that you are going to be sharing with friends and family that you don't need any security for, but you just want to share it there. If you do need security or only have 1 or 2 people that you want to share it with or give them permission to edit it, you can go into each of these packages, each of these cloud services, and I can identify this person can go in and edit it. This person can go in and view it, and I can individually lock it down that way. Another folder is receipts. This an example there. I mentioned Amazon and eBay, but really I probably shouldn't have listed those because you don't really need to keep those receipts because you can always go out to the website at any time and look up your past purchases and things like that. So you'll see, next we'll talk about the actual documents. You don't need to keep documents that you can access through some of these other sites. But if you do have credit card purchases or just large purchases over $100, sometimes it's handy to have that. And again, we'll talk a little bit later. Most of those may have come in paper form, but you can easily convert it to a digital form. Taxes. We just got through with tax day yesterday there. And you can organize your taxes by year, and that would be real estate, federal, state, 1099s, W-2s, payroll stubs, whatever you have, organize it. Travel can be vacation plans, airlines, hotels, car rentals. Vital. Vital can store things like your birth certificates, marriage, death certificates, wills, doable power of attorneys, living wills, social security cards, driver's license, passport, transcripts, diplomas, a lot of different things there. And then we mentioned photos and videos should be stored on a photo site because creating a directory, usually on the photo site, you have albums and you have different ways to store it than some of these other documents here. In addition, you may have some other names there, like ZZ Other. That just sorts it at the end of the list. Work, newsletters, maybe a friend's name because you are sharing or doing stuff with them a lot. Maybe it's an event. You may have a separate folder for an event. Or if you work with a project, a club, or a group, you may have separate folders there. So some tips. If a document fits in more than one directory, so as you're trying to figure out where should something go, if it looks like it fits in more than one directory, you can always create kind of a placeholder document that just lists where the real file is. So if something was in travel, but you also were going to write that off on your taxes may have a little, you create a little document in your taxes that says, go to the travel and look for this document. So you can give names like that. Put no more than 50 or 100 documents in a directory. Create subdirectories to split up files. This goes back to, I had that to do with the underscore. Well, you can use an underscore or things like 00 and then a name to get a directory to sort to the top of the list. You can also use things like Z to keep it at the bottom of the list. Or you can prefix, if there's steps or a sequence that you want, you can start out the name of the folder with 01 dash, 02 dash the name, 03 dash names to get it to force a sequence. Security and sharing, we mentioned the public directory. I don't recommend that you share any of your other folders or that with people. So things that I want to share, I just keep in a public directory, and I don't share out of my other directories with other people usually. So this is an example of, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I guess you see it okay there. This is my Google Drive. I have most of my files up on Google, on the Google Drive there. And let's actually go out here. So let me do this. Let's bring up. So this is my Google Drive. I have various ones. I have additional ones for people that I deal with or organizations, the 3M Personal Computing Club. So I do have a few other things there. And you can see the different directories, and then below some of these directories, I've got other directories to organize my files. When I get down to details, so this happens to be files that I'm currently working on. Let me open that. So these are files that I'm currently working on. There was a question earlier about the versioning or the different versions there. Well, in Google Drive, all I have to do is hit this I to show me some details. The details here, if I select any of the files here, so let's just select so this tells me some details about it, when it was created, when things were done there. Let's go to this one. Tells me all the details about it here. But there's also a column out here called activity. If I click on the activity, this tells me when it was changed. So this week I made a change on April 16th at 2:26 p.m. I made another change on April 5th. Last month I made a couple of changes there. There's the different versions. If I ever wanted to get back a version, I just click on it and it opens up. And so this has managed all my versions for me. I don't have to have different names. I don't have to have different spots. Plus I can see who edited it. Now in my case, I'm not sharing it with somebody, but if I was sharing it with somebody and they were making changes and I was making changes, I'd see what changes they made and see them in there also. Okay. And just a quick deal, and this works the same in Microsoft or in Apple or in Google here. You have options. When I go up to this new here, I can upload files. I can upload entire folders. So if I'm starting out with all of my information on a laptop or on an external drive, I can take those files and I can bring them up real easily and set them up there. Okay. Let's go back here. Okay, so we've decided on putting our stuff up at the cloud. We've created these folders to put stuff in. Now we have to go through our documents. That's the harder part. First, a little definition of a document. So my definition of a document is a piece of written, printed, or digital content that provides information or evidence or that serves as an official record. So it can be a picture, it can be a Word file, it can be Excel, it can be any file that you can create on a computer, but it also can be paper things, or a driver's license, or a passport, or anything like that. Today, any document can easily be converted into a digital document, and we'll talk a little bit about that. The first step is the hardest and the most important. You have to get or find your documents. You can take inventory of all your devices and where you currently have documents that are stored locally on a laptop or on an external drive, or you may have some already in the cloud. And it's this thing of, it can seem daunting, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. You have to start with one file and one folder and decide to start organizing it and move it, delete stuff, and start getting it organized. Start with your existing digital documents first and go device by device, directory by directory, and platform by platform. After working with your digital documents, then you can move to your paper documents that you may have. You may have them already in file cabinets, they may be in folders, they may be in safes, they may be in boxes that you have. So here I'll go over some of the common steps that you'd have to take with both digital documents and paper documents and that. The first step is first take a hard look at each document to see if you really need to keep it or if it can be deleted. Delete documents that are available on sites like a bank statement. There's no reason to keep bank statements. You can go out to the bank site and you can go back as many years as you want and you can get access there. Credit card statements, Amazon receipts, and many others are available online. So you don't have to keep that stuff. You can create a placeholder to documents that references where to find an online version if you are having trouble remembering where it's located. So in taxes, if you want to remember to go out to this bank statement or that, you could put a little document that said, go out to my Wells Fargo account and look at the year-end history to get the record. Here I mention only keep the latest version of a document. Multiple versions will cause confusion. I've seen it 100 times there, and it wastes a ton of your time trying to figure out what's the most current version. A few documents like taxes may require separate documents for each year. If it is a document like that, then you should name the document and put the year in the document to make it clear that this is the 2022 W-2 or 1099, and this is the 2023 1099. Delete old or expired documents for items or services that you no longer have. So if you're keeping even the manuals, over time you replace TVs, you replace kitchen appliances, you get new phones. When you get new devices, get rid of the documents that you no longer, that were associated with that old device that you may have had and are no longer needed. If you're afraid to delete documents, and a lot of people are, first move them to an archive document. So you can take them out of their existing spot, move them to an archive document, and then delete them after 90 days if you haven't had the need to use it. So that can be your strategy or your plan to delete documents. Okay, here I mentioned once you get done with all your digital documents, you'll want to go through and make digital copies of some of the physical documents that you may have. You can scan textual documents into PDF files using the scanner on most printers. So if you do have a printer, almost every printer will let you do it. If you don't have a printer and you have a cell phone, there's apps like Adobe Scan, a free app, and that, excuse me, that uses the camera on your phone, and you can create a PDF file by taking pictures of the document that you want. If it's a graphics document or a photo or a picture or something like that, you want to scan that, but don't put it in a PDF, put it in a JPEG file. And that you can usually do on your printer also. If the document is too big for your printer or you don't have a printer, again, there's apps for the smartphone or for a tablet like Google Photo Scan that lets you convert that into a digital image. Excuse me, a little tickle. Decide if you need to keep the non-digital document once it's digitized. So once you take something, let's say it's like a sales receipt. It's a sales receipt from Menards for something that I got. Do I really need to keep it? Well, if I've got a digital copy of it and can print that out or show that or whatever, whenever I need it, if that's sufficient, I can get rid of that receipt and I don't need it any longer. So many things you can get rid of. Some things you're not going to get rid of is like a birth certificate or a death certificate or things like that. You still want to digitize it because you want to be able to look it up at any time and have it in one folder and things like that, but you're going to want to keep the original physical document. Okay, so after you've taken that digital document or a physical document and converted it into a digital document, this is a very important step. You want to give it a meaningful name that you and other people will know instantly without having to open up and look at its content. So if you're naming it XYZ1234, you're not going to remember what that means. You want to give it a meaningful name, and then that way you won't have to keep opening it up to say, oh, that's what that document was, or things like that. You may want to include a date either at the start or the end of the name for some documents like taxes or photographs. I put, to organize them, I like to know when the photograph was, and so I put that in the name. So where there's documents where it's important to know the date, you can put it in the date. I don't use it for versioning. It's not meant to be versioning there. When moving files between some of the file systems, so like up to the cloud or things like that, sometimes you lose the original digital date. So that's why it's handy on photos or things like that to actually put the date in the name of the file. And I recommend a 4-digit year, a dash, a 2-digit month, a dash, and the 2-digit day. So there's an example there, 2023-4/19. Now that date, maybe it makes sense to put it at the beginning of the file, or maybe it makes sense to put it at the end of the file. Depends on what you're organizing and where you want stuff to show up. Once you've named it, move the document to the correct folder or directory right away and delete old versions that you may have on these other devices or other directories. Okay, some more tips. And we talked a little bit about this before. You can use the underscore or 00 in the name to get the document to sort at the top or the bottom of where you want it. And you can use the 0, 1, 2, 3 to force a sequence. Include keywords in your file names. Used to be that file names, when I started out on the first computer, excuse me, 8 characters. Well, let's get this. 8 characters was all you could have for a file name. That's it. So the names weren't real descriptive. So now it's unlimited and you can put anything you want in there. So there's no excuse for not having meaningful names and putting in keywords and things like that in that. That way in the future, you or anyone else looking for something is going to be able to search for the document easily and find it. I mentioned in here some documents, if it's photos or that, or things that you like on Facebook, take the stuff off of Facebook, save it in a document, and then organize it in your organization there as a way to keep it. Excuse me. You can create an index or a table of contents document with info and links. A spreadsheet works best. You can name it _index so it sorts to the top of the file list. So if you have a whole bunch of files and you want to really keep it organized, you could do that. Delete old, unused, or obsolete documents. Review them at least once a year and do a spring cleaning. Some other tips. So organize your documents. Could take an afternoon or a week, depending on how many devices, folders, and files you have to sift through. Do it in sprints. Focus on one category of files at a time, like healthcare documents or finance. Some sites let you dictate how your online account will be handled after your death. You can check the website's account settings or account security menu. So as an example, Facebook has a thing called Legacy Contact, or Google has Inactive Account Manager. So if you're, well, we won't go into that. Create a list of your digital assets and social media accounts and passwords. And if you've attended some of the meetings before, I talk about the using a password manager. Most books, music, and videos you're renting and you aren't licensed, so you don't have to be backing those up and they can't be transferred to anyone else, so you don't have to worry about backing them up or that. Don't create hassles for your executor by not listing or providing accounts and passwords and a password manager, and let your executor know where to find all these documents. Okay, that concludes the regular. We'll open it up for any questions or comments there. Yes.
So like on Google Drive, it's, your Google Docs and your Google Sheets. So how does that relate to?
Yeah. Okay, so that's a good question. So here I am at Google Drive. You can use the tools within Google, the Google Docs for word processing, the Google Sheets for spreadsheets, but you don't have to. If you're more comfortable using Excel and Word and stuff like that, actually, let's see here. Do I have, where am I? General. Do I have, no, I don't. Let's see. So this is an example here of a file. This file was created in Microsoft Word. And I can upload that file to the Google Drive. I can click on it. Google will open up the Word file in Google Docs, or open it up in a version of Word there. Let me view it. If I want to edit it, then I have to change it to a Google Docs, and I can edit it with that moving forward. So you can keep some stuff in old formats. You can choose to keep others. If you do have a license for Microsoft Office, that's where you may choose to store your Office documents up on the Microsoft cloud there and use Office 365 to manage them that way.
In your directory, a given category, spreadsheets and
Yeah, a good question there. Yeah, I'll repeat the question. The question is, in different directories, and I have combinations of spreadsheets and documents and PDF files and anything. If you, obviously, I'm in that category too. When I first grew up with computers, a lot of people organized their stuff and put all their spreadsheets into one directory. That's not a real good way of organizing files because you end up with a whole bunch of files, and it's better to organize it by the topics there. These are for travel, these are for auto, these are for finance, these are for different categories like that. Within there, you may have a combination of spreadsheets, Word documents, PDF files, text files, and if you use other packages, you're going to have potentially these other file types that you're also storing in there. So the days of having just one directory with all the spreadsheets, you usually don't do that anymore. Does that make sense? Or?
Storing a directory with all the files.
So, yeah, this is, well, let's see, let me go to draft here. So here's an example here. This is a spreadsheet. This is a PDF file. This next one is a DOC file, so that's a Word file, an old Word format. Here's a JPEG. What? Yeah, you'll see it saying it's opening it up. It's going to show it to me here. Well, in this case, this is a really old one. It even goes back probably to 1985. So normally it would have opened it up and showed it here. In this case, it's saying that it's such an old version of DOC file because even current ones don't end in DOC anymore for Microsoft Word. But it would show you, normally it'd show you that. Let me see if I can find one that is more current, that is a DOC. Let's see, printers. See, most of my documents now, if they're editable or usable in Google Docs or Google Sheets, I'll use that. Because it's, if you know Microsoft Word or Excel, it's pretty easy to use the Google versions of that. Let me see, where might I have? Do I have any out here? No, most of it. So here's a text file that I have, and it'll open it up. In this case, as a text file, it's not opening it up in Google Docs, so I can't edit it unless I save it as a Google Docs, and then I can edit it. Now that's probably confusing it a little more. But you can put all these documents and that out there. Then it's a question of when you edit it, are you going to edit it from here, or are you going to edit it from your laptop or your desktop or your phone, or what are you going to use to edit it or view it? But in general, these packages will let you view other formats, and if you are going to make that your system of record, you may want to convert from these other formats to the format of the file that you have. So if you make a commitment to the Apple iCloud, then what you'd want your documents to be in is, I forgot what Apple calls their suite there. Yeah, numbers and pages and stuff like that. So that's where kind of deciding what platform you want to use, you're going to want to take maybe some of these older documents and potentially convert them. And all the packages will let you convert them, open up these other formats and let you save it in the new format there. Okay? Yeah.
Can you mix and match? I see you've got an Apple, but you use Chrome and in Word?
You can mix and match them any way that you want. So, I mean, certainly it can be easier if you had an iPhone and a Mac and all from the same vendor there, but you can mix and match. I have an Android phone, I have an Apple tablet, and I have several laptops and a desktop. And I can access the Google Drive on any of these devices. And I can use Google Docs and Google Sheets on any of these devices, the iPad or an iPhone or anything there. So
Google isn't either one.
no, Google will let you use either one there. And even for that matter, if I wanted to commit to Apple, I could use Pages and that on here. So I do have an Apple account. I can access it out here. I can save files. I can create files, and I can use Pages and that out there. It's just again, if I am already saving files out in this other system, why would I want something out there? So you want to make a system of record be the spot where you're going to put most of your files and do most of your work there. Okay. Other questions? Or yes.
I still don't understand how you get a document to go to like the
Okay. Let's do this. So let's go back. Let me go back here. So are you saying that you currently have something on your...
say I created a document, how do I get it to go to the
Okay. So what I can do here is, let's put, let me go up here. Let's do this. Let's create a new folder and we'll call it demo. So now I have a folder demo. There's no files out here at all. If I go here and I click on this new, I can upload a file. I click on this upload a file, I'm taken to, in this case, this machine here. I can select any file that I want in here. So let me go up, let's see, we got from the demo today, here's a PDF file of the handout. Or no, I guess I don't have it there, but here's a spreadsheet. Here's a spreadsheet of the best phone and tablet apps. I click on that. It uploaded it. It shows up in here. And this is a Microsoft Excel file. So that's why this X is shown here. If I click on it, I can open it up here. You'll see it's converting it now to Google Sheets. And I can view it in this case, and I can actually save it, and I can do anything I want. So that's an example of taking a file that I had on my laptop and putting it up in the cloud. The other way to do it is as I'm at this directory here, and let's go here, and I'm going to say new. I'm going to create a new Google Docs, which is their word processor. So now I'm in here, this is a test. And I can call it, let's call it, change it from untitled to, so I'm just calling it the demo here. And now if I close this, now I've got a document out here called CAR demo. So I just created a file out here. If I want to edit it again, just have to open it up, make a change, do anything I want. If I turn off the machine or do anything, guess what? It's automatically backed up. Didn't have to do a file save, didn't have to do anything, and everything is saved in there. So you can create new documents, you can move your existing documents, organize them up here into the folders that you want, into the directories that you want, and if you choose to view them or edit them, I can edit them right from here. I don't even need necessarily a copy of Microsoft Excel or anything. It's using Google. But if I did want to use Microsoft Excel or stuff like that, guess what? I've got on this computer, I do have Excel. I can start up Excel. There's Excel. I can create a document here, and when I save it, in this case, I can save it. I can only save it to a file on this PC, and then I could upload it to there when I'm done. Or if I have that syncing turned on, it'll sync the documents automatically from my laptop up to the cloud services. And the syncing and where you store your files is becoming more and more important, because if you've recently bought a new laptop or a new computer, you'll see that they come with smaller and smaller hard drives. Because the concept is you no longer need big hard drives on laptops and desktops, because you're storing your files up on the cloud and the servers there. And the advantage is, once it's up on the cloud, if I go to my phone, those 2 documents that I created in that new directory for demo, I immediately have access to it on my phone or on my tablet. Or
How do you get access to it? And how do I know what I have in the cloud right now?
If I can either do it a number of different ways. There's an app on here that I can put called Google Drive. When I do Google Drive, it looks and operates exactly like what this does here. It shows me the directories. It shows me the files. I can open them. The other way I can get at it is on my phone or on my tablet. If I have Google Sheets or Google Docs, that's a little app on the phone. If I open that up, and do a file open, it's gonna go out to my Google Drive and show me these files, and I can pick any of the files that I have out there. So I can get at it a number of different ways once it's up there. You go to the iCloud. Yeah, Apple it calls their cloud iCloud. And you can, if you haven't used it before, I'd highly recommend, go out here, create a directory, create a file, upload files, do things like that to make sure that you're comfortable about where things are and where they're located. Because you want to get more and more familiar with the cloud and the storage capabilities of that, because that should be your system of record for all these files and that. Yes. Sure.
Okay, I would like to set up a password manager. Sure how.
The password managers, maybe we can talk offline, but what you do is you decide on which password manager you want. There's some that you can buy. I recommend Bitwarden. Bitwarden is a package and a manager, and the way that it operates is there's apps for like the phones and the tablets, and you install it, you set up an account. It's free to get a basic account, and then it can either start memorizing your passwords as you're going into various apps and various sites. It can memorize yours. If you currently have passwords and accounts in other password managers, it's possible to export them and import them. Or if you've saved them in the browser, if you've ever used a browser like Chrome here, let's see, let's go back here. So let's say I was logging into Starbucks. and I put in my account and password, and you may have seen a little box pop up that says, do you want to save your password? That's a function within Chrome to save that password. Well, that gets saved in Chrome. Bitwarden and these other packages can take that information out of Chrome and put it in the password manager. So if you've already used any password manager of any kind, you can usually load it or get the stuff over there. If you haven't, you can manually put in things and you can get it set up.
But is it just as easy to leave it at home?
If I leave this stuff in Google Chrome, so if I just have it in Google Chrome, that means that I don't have it on some of my apps on my phone and things like that. So if I go somewhere, I can open up my phone and I can get my password manager and use it on a public machine in a library, in my sons or daughters' machines. Even though I haven't been on them before, I can get my passwords and I can put them in and enter them in there. And it takes a little practice with a password manager, but to understand how to use it. And there's plugins. There's apps for the phones and things like that, but there's also plugins for like Chrome here. This is Bitwarden up here. Bitwarden is currently locked. To unlock it, I have to put in my master password. Once I put in my master password, then it can automatically fill in my account and password on sites, and I can manually look it up or add information, things like that to the password manager. So I guess at a high level, if you haven't used a password manager before, it's kind of worthwhile becoming familiar and converting to one, because password managers let you change passwords, let you generate passwords. So my passwords that I generate are usually a conglomeration of numbers and letters that have no meaning whatsoever. And no two accounts have the same password. And my banks and stuff like that, I'll change them at least once a year. So the chance of somebody being able to, from a data breach, being able to get into an account or log into one of my accounts is almost zero. Because if they did have an old password, I've changed it. And it's a bunch of letters and numbers that have no meaning. And I don't reuse the same password from one site for Facebook and Wells Fargo and that. Each is a different password. And and that's what I was going to say. You're not going to be able to remember it. And that's why people use the same password or refuse kind of to change their password, is they're going, I don't want to have to remember something. Well, with a password manager, the only thing you have to remember is one master password here. You're not having to remember all of this other stuff. And the one that I'm recommending, this Bitwarden, is free. It's free on all devices, any number of devices. Bitwarden, Bitwarden. Yep, Bitwarden, like a, here you can see the name, Warden.
Warden.
Right. And I used to recommend LastPass. LastPass is one of the biggest password managers, and they used to have a free level that gave you most of the capabilities that people needed. Unfortunately, about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they would not, if you wanted to use it on multiple devices, you had to pay a monthly fee. And again, I look for things that'll work that don't cost money, and this is highly recommended by a number of PC Magazine and other reputable sites as the best free password manager there.
I'm voice identified. Is that a good thing?
Voice identified.
With a bank?
Yeah, voice identified, yes and no, because you may have heard with artificial intelligence, there's voice generators. So if I have a couple of samples of you speaking, I can type in whatever I want and it'll speak back, and most people wouldn't know that it's you or the fake doing it. But it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. The two-factor authentication, getting a text message, that's not entirely safe either. But again, it's better than nothing. If you set up a bank account and all you have is an account and a password, if somebody gets that password, they're going to be able to get into your bank account. So you do want to have a second form. That second form can be a text message, can be the voice, can be a physical device that you plug into your computer. Some financial institutions and banks do have a little, looks like a flash drive you plug in, and so only a person that has that flash drive is going to be able to get in. The other thing that you may have heard of is on a phone, whether it's an Apple or a Google, you have apps, and Google Authenticator and Apple Authenticator. And then it's using your phone as the second form of authentication there. So there's ways to set that up too, and that's a little more secure than text messages or that. But if you do have the text messages and have to put in the code, like for Social Security sites or bank accounts or things like that, you're 99.9% safe. So you're very safe there. It's just that there are ways to get around some of these things. Yeah, any other question or comment? Thanks for coming, and next month we'll have the artificial intelligence.